Hey everybody, we've got this 2009 with 390,000 kilometres almost. I'm going to do a bit of an inspection around under the bonnet and underneath the vehicle. Does all the maintenance servicing himself, oil changes, air filters, stuff like that. But there's a few things that these diesels need that might have been missed and most people don't know. So in case you don't know, when you change your air filter, you should also clean the MAF sensor. There's videos on that, just keep watching the videos. Now here I've noticed the brake fluid level is very low. Being a Toyota Prado, Toyota LC120, whatever you want to call it, it's unlikely there's any leaks in the system, so I'll say the brakes are probably getting fairly low. Also the coolant is down, so it looks fairly clean, but certainly due for a flush. And a BFE job looking at that belt, that pulley, and you know, the usual gate sticker. So anyway, a little bit of oil overflow as all that oil is there, just needs a clean up. But we're just going to point out a few things as we go. Always good to make sure that wiring loom's not rubbing on the aircon pipes, because sometimes people change the alternator and they reroute that and ends up rubbing on these aircon pipes. So check out your vehicle. And if you don't want to miss the next important message, subscribe, turn the bell on, because a lot of people don't. And then they're trying to search what they need and it's hard to search it. So just subscribe, turn the bell on, watch the video per day, press like, and then it'll pop up in your feed, these videos. And if it's not my video, don't watch it and watch till the end. This thing's on backwards, so that needs to be spun around 180 degrees. You've seen me change those in videos before. If you haven't, just keep watching videos. Now, the ABS unit, I'm just going, everything's so dirty it's hard to tell if there's a leak or not, but it's very original dirt. It's not off-road. It's not off-road dust and dirt. It's just your normal on-road, road grime dust. I'd go as far as to say this looks like it's kind of never been cleaned. Now, it might have been cleaned once or twice, I don't know, but it looks like it's never been cleaned. On the 120s, also remember to check the power steering level, because you can't see it through, like on the Hiluxes and on the 150s, you can't see it. So this coolant leak, we're talking about that. Could be a little bit of water pump, I'd say. See, there's a little bit of a mark there, but we'll have a bit of a look underneath. The other thing you need to do is take this plastic trim off, removing these clips carefully. Easy to get out, and have a look, because there could be a little bit of a leak at the seam of the radiator that you can't see from here. So we might get around to that. We'll see how we go for time. But the idea is the owner can see this video and he can start taking care of checking some things that we've talked about. That MAP filter that's cracked underneath the cover there is the reason for that oil. You change that about once every 5 years. Just change it. Don't worry about cleaning it once you've got your little solution in place, you know, 7mm. It needs the short SCV changed out for a long one that's down there on the pump. This fuel filter should be changed every 40,000 by my recommendation. Make sure the battery's secure. Everything under here looks pretty original. The hoses, 400,000 K, original hoses, and there's nothing wrong with them. Don't bother changing those. Don't lean on that. Nothing else really much to see down here. You know your oil filter's down there, that white thing there. I can't see anything that doesn't look too original. It doesn't look like it's been worked on, is the good side. So it hasn't been butchered. So this is how good an original Toyota LC120, how good the engine, the transmission, and the car is. 400,000 K. Do you know how much that is? And it's still reliable, still driving, and it's only because it started making this bit of a knocking noise sort of thing that it's here, and I thought I'd better bring it in for an inspection and work it out and give him some advice. So that's what we're doing, and we're going to give it to everybody because you need it. Now let's get the vehicle raised up and have a look, see what we can see underneath. Yeah, that's not meant to move like that. That's a wheel bearing. All right, let's start underneath the front. There's going to be no surprises here. Let's start at the front. We talked about the radiator, taking that top cover off. See, there's a residue of some sort of whitey pink looking stuff. You probably see the same at the other side. Yep, there it is. Look up on the inside there. So you can see the radiator. It's not urgent, but it's something that will need attention as well. Of course, the wheel bearings. Do you mind giving that a bit of a wobble again, just from the bottom of the wheel, because we might pick it up better on the inside here, just to see it. Yeah, that's good, thanks. So that bearing in here, it's a sealed unit, there's no maintenance. Our recommendation is if you're a traveller, change them every 200,000 Ks. We keep them on the shelf. We can't always keep them there because I do a video and I say something like this and bang, the shelf gets cleaned out. So just be prepared for that. Your best time is probably going to be October. We haven't got many more Mondays left before our September Victoria school holiday break. But yeah, you know, if you're a traveller every 200,000 Ks, If you're not traveling more than 100 k's from home, your RACV will get you back to the workshop. But it can become dangerous. So even if you want to stretch it, based on a lot of vehicles, not just this one, I'd say, look, 300,000 k's is a stretch. So if you're just going to school, going to shops, going to see the family, going to work, whatever, and you're not going far really, I'd say 300,000. And I think the evidence is here. Quite often this happens. I've had this happen at 100,000 k's on some cars. That's rare. Quite often at 200, and from 200 onwards is where it happens, which is why that's where we come up with our recommendation. Obviously, tyres look not too bad. A little bit of wear on the outside edge compared to the inside edge, so that'll be to do with, you know, think about it, that wheel bearing, if it's loose, that allows that wheel to move in and out. So it's not going to drive the best. It's going to be a bit all over the road, follow the road a bit. It's going to get a lot better. It's got the old original suspension in it still. Isn't that amazing? Look at that. You've got the old struts there, still there, 400,000 Ks. That'll be the same both sides. If you change the wheel bearing at one side, you change the other, because this one's going to be dry with no grease left in it either, and it's about to do the same thing. Like I said, radiator can wait. Just top it up, top it up, top it up. It does need to be done at some stage, but it's not super high on the priority list. I've seen them like this for years, and people have still got them going like that for years. So if you want to save money, you can just keep an eye on it, keep topping it up. It's not going to get better on its own, but it's not usually going to get worse in a hurry. You know, the plug, the old plug here for that oil leak thing, whatever. Right, let me get this light on. Works better with a light on. But there you go. So let's change the plug. Someone's put some seal on it. Did you do that? No? No, okay, that's all right. Interesting. Haven't seen that one, but that's a way to fix things. That doesn't work. There you go. Because someone's put some seal in and it's still leaking oil. But anyway, all part of the fun. Everyone will be able to see that in the video. The pan on the auto here. Let's see if there's any bolts missing, because once you get to this sort of case, sometimes it does happen. No, but it is weeping. We haven't seen this weeping before. Does look like the original gasket. Looks like it hasn't been touched. So when you get to 400,000 Ks, if your pan looks like this, I'll give you permission to remove the pan and put a new gasket. Don't touch anything else. Clean it up, right? That oil on the transfer case, not really even there on this one. So this one, it's not bad. You don't have to do that. Oh, someone's worked on it, because you can see some transmission flush. Did you do that? Or somebody's at some stage there's been a tool on there, so that's all right. Look at that turbo, 400,000 Ks, bone dry and still going. So you either get lucky, or if you look after it, these turbos are bloody awesome, and that's why I say stick with genuine. So pretty impressed so far. We've got a bit of grease here. What's going on there? We might have, let's talk about the CV boots. Here we go. We must have a split just on the inside there by the looks of it. The outer boots are really awesome. This is a case of, you can either put a whole new shaft in it, or you can just do the labor and change the boot. We discussed that in a video just recently. So subscribe, turn the bell on so you don't miss it. The outer boot, leave it alone, don't damage it. This one's split as well. So both side inner CV boots at the age of 15 years have finally split. I suppose we should check these lower control arm bushes. You can see the front lower's a little bit crunched up. That's because the old original suspension kind of, you know. Look at these rear bushes. Isn't that amazing? 400,000 Ks, and that's only about 40% split maybe. So it's not too bad. So we don't need, this one's about 20-30% split at 400,000 Ks. These are originals. So that's pretty good. If you don't hit the speed bumps too hard, take it easy. If it had new suspension and they were dampening better than 400,000 Ks, then it'd probably be better again. Let's have a quick look at the brake seal. We can see, expecting that to be low. Hard to get in there, but what I'm seeing so far, front brakes look all right for now. A little bit low. It's something to think about. Let me get the camera in there so you can check it for yourself. Come on, focus, focus, focus. No, not going to work too close, but I reckon you got at least a couple mil. But look, that's a good time. I'd change the pads in there anyway. lsaauto.com.au, and you got that discount code. What's it called? 4B4-2023. Or check my other posts and other videos for that. So we've got awesome value for money brakes at lsaauto.com.au. Not my website, not my business. I just like the value for money and sharing that. Rear pads very low. They need to replace very soon. I'm not going to get in there and waste any more time, but rear pads have got maybe a millimetre or two, I'd say, without pulling the wheels off and having a really close look in there. So they are low. So once the rear pad, I'd do the front and rear pads. If the braking's smooth, if it's got any pulsation, then get a set of rotors as well. They're really good value for money. Rear upper trailing arm bushes. Don't look too bad. Don't waste your money changing things unless, you know, a little bit of crack here and there. Like the front arms, I'm not worried about that. Okay, look, if this was a petrol, that hose would be split and leaking fuel everywhere. But this one's just starting. See, it's got a sweat on it. So this one's a lucky one that doesn't go off-road. You do this and go off-road, it's going to bang it around. It's going to be leaking fuel everywhere, right? So what happens is this filler hose here in the picture, corner to corner, I call that the filler hose because it comes down from the filler pipe up here, right? And what happens is it gets old and deteriorated, and you can see that main crack in it right about the middle of the picture now. And the fuel, because it's oil, is just slowly oozing its way out and putting that sweat of oil all over the hose and on the back of the fuel tank. So that fuel hose, about $100 worth, whatever. About 150 bucks fitted if your fuel tank's not too full. Drain it down, you know, run it down low before you ask someone to change that, or you'll be wasting fuel. So this needs suspension really, so shockers all around. Maybe it's worth putting a lift in, maybe not, maybe just shockers all around. Fuel hose at the back, brakes at the rear, wheel bearings at the front. The rears aren't noisy or got any play in them, but it probably could be a good time to sort of do those soon as well, because we've seen them failing around the 350 mainly, 400 mark. There's plenty at 400 that haven't had them done either, so it's not a big, everyone doesn't need to panic about rear wheel bearings, just mainly if you're a traveller. They do get noisy. They normally stay noisy for a long time before anything happens, so it's not a big panic thing for the rear ones. The front ones, they can go really quick. You don't want to find out about that on a trip. It can go from no play, no noise to really noisy and wheels nearly falling off in 1,000 Ks. That's why I recommend change them. Okay, look how awesome's this really. I mean, you know, what else is there to see here? You know, I mean, the things we've found, we're talking 400,000 Ks of no maintenance, but what an awesome vehicle, because it's just maintenance items like, you know, shock absorbers, wear and tear items, CV boots. I mean, they've done 400,000 Ks, right? They're 15 years old. Those two boots, pick them up for not too much and a bit of labour intensive to get the shafts out and change the boots, but you do that at the same time as you're putting suspension in, make it a bit more efficient, chuck your pads and rotors in at the same time. So this vehicle looks like it's going to need a set of injectors, EGR clean, map filter, all that usual work, bit of a BFE job, not urgent, but soon. Radiator maybe eventually, not urgent. How good's the turbo looking? A pan gasket eventually, but not urgent. And whatever else we talked about back here, down here. Okay, for now, for all the people hanging around, let's talk about the highest priority items and what the costs are to get this back on track. So the way I look at it is, it's a $50,000 vehicle that's been driven for 15 years with basic minor maintenance. What should have happened after about 5 years, a bit more serious maintenance needed to start happening, and then you stay on top of it for maybe $2,000 a year or every second year. But what's happened here is it's driven for 15 years and 400,000 Ks without anything other than basic maintenance. And that's where it's all caught up with itself. So the question is it worth fixing or do you sell it? My answer is it's worth fixing, because everybody loves their Prados. They drive great. There's a lot of advantages of a Prado. But then if it doesn't suit your needs, you could sell it and go and buy a brand new Toyota Corolla hybrid and get 4 litres per 100 Ks. You know, is that car big enough for you? It's going to save a lot on fuel. Here you're going to, look, if you sold this as it is, I don't know. I mean, you're not going to get a roadworthy with a few of those items, but, you know, you get a roadworthy, you're going to sell it. I mean, depends if people know about it or not. You might get 20 grand if people don't know, but if they know what hasn't been done and what it needs, you're going to be closer to 10 or 15 grand, really, in the mechanical condition it is. So what do you got? Say you got 15 grand plus 10 grand in repairs. It's 25 grand. Another 8 grand, and you got a brand new Corolla hybrid. So it's something to think about. You know, each to their own. Everybody's going to have their own situation. But first thing I would do, there's no point spending money on the car bumper to bumper until you fix the heart in the beast. Now, we've had a look at everything for an evaluation of what needs to be done first. Number one is the engine. Fix the heart in the beast first. I reckon it's all worth fixing, because at the end of it, you've got a $15,000 car that's going to be worth 30 grand after it's all done, because it's going to drive beautiful. It's going to be reliable. And, you know, there's always going to be something else, but these are all the main things that come up, and it doesn't all need to be done at once. Like, you don't have to do it all straight away within a week or two, or even 3 or 6 months. You can stretch things, like the radiator can be stretched out a little bit longer. So on the injector side of things, parts, you know, injector kit with all the gear you need. Let's talk ballpark numbers here. Some people are going to go, oh yeah, that's cheap, or that's expensive, whatever. So injector kit about 3 grand if you do it yourself. If you're going to pay someone the labor to do the whole job, It could be 4 or 5 grand, could be even more. It all depends if you do the manifold and how bad that is. So budget 3 or 5 grand is what I'd say. Your BFE job, your BFE kit, again, that's not urgent. These things aren't urgent, but to put a price on it, I'd put this lower on the priority. I'd say do the engine first. So let's do order of priority. Engine first, brakes is a priority, and wheel bearings. So I'd go engine, 3 to 5 grand, depending if you do it yourself. Brake fluid's low and it needs brakes. So brakes, LSI, last time I checked, pads and rotors, I reckon you're gonna be up for about $300 or $400 in brake parts, about $1,000 in wheel bearings from me. It depends if you do it yourself. So you're either gonna be up for, let's say, $1,500 or somewhere over 2 grand to wheel bearings and brakes, 2.5, so 1,500 or 2.5, ballpark numbers, you know, I'm not thinking too hard here about this. You want to get those brakes and wheel bearings sorted, that's a safety item. Then we'll be able to check if there's any other play in the other steering components like the rack ends, but they're not that bad that it's urgent or anything like that, which is good. After that, just to get it running right, I'd probably go for the suction control valve. Let's just say about $500, more or less. Fuel hose, about $100 hose, $50 fitted. What else was under there? Not much really, so it sounds like it's getting under control. Excuse me. And then I'd probably go for the BFE job, which is about, you know, with coolant, let's say about $100 worth of parts, and, you know, about $1,500 or something if you had paid someone to do the job. So there's some more money to spend there. Battery looks all right. I'd throw a fuel filter at it just because it looks a bit older, and it's a Ryco, and, you know, rather a Japan fuel filter. The underneath fuel filter, of course, every 20,000 Ks, if people don't know about that. And then, of course, you know, flush the brake fluid when you do the brakes. So that's kind of give you some ideas of prices in the order that I'd do things. And after all that's sort of getting under control, then you might look towards the radiator. But like I said, pop these clips out, take that plastic cover off and have a look underneath and see, you know, how bad it is. Or it's not really that bad, otherwise you'd see it pouring out at the bottom. So maybe you don't want to know. Don't take that off until all the other part of the job's done. So I hope that gives everyone an idea. You know, what else was there? Was that it? The lower arms are okay. Oh, the CV boots, right? So the CV boots, we did a video on that recently, just the other day, yesterday, day before that came out, where you can get the boots, maximum retail $50 each. So you could do it yourself for about $100, labor intensive, or if you paid someone to do it, I'd suggest R&R, the drive shafts, pull that apart, you know, it's going to be about $700-800, something like that. Depends if you do the suspension. Oh, that's right, we talked about suspension. The kit, just budget up to about 2 grand for the parts, about 500 to put it in, unless you do it yourself, and you get your drive shafts done at the same time. So everybody else, watch the video again with your pen and paper. You can write it all down and work out what it's worth if you're going to do it yourself, and what's it worth if you pay someone to do it, average prices, and you can put it in the comments, so then all of us don't have to do mathematics. Thanks for that. We'll be looking forward to looking at the comments to see what it's all worth. And let us know, do you think it's worth fixing? I reckon it's worth fixing, but it's still running well at the moment. It's just going to run a lot better once the work's done. Thanks for watching again. Hope you liked it. Smash the like button, subscribe, turn the bell on. Catch you on the next video.